Hey, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, episode 208 for July 9th, 2020. I am your host, Lance Brock, as always, and I just want to get into this episode tonight, starting off right away. Last night's All Elite Wrestling Fyter Fest, Night 2, the conclusion. And of course, we are taped this week. It was taped last week after it was live at Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. And we kick off with a video package again. And then we start off our first match of the evening is the match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships as Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page defend against Private Party. Excellent tag team match, in my opinion. This one had a lot of solid action, and Omega and Page were great in this match. And I honestly gotta say, this was one of the best performances by Private Party I have seen. But in the end, it is Omega and Page retaining the AEW tag team titles. Our next match on Fyter Fest is the bad boy Joey Janela taking on Murder Hawk Lance Archer. First, Joey Janela makes his entrance, but we don't see his new tag team partner Sonny Kiss with him. And then we see Archer come out with Sonny Kiss, throwing him into Joey Janela. And another very good match. And the finish sees Archer hit the blackout on Joey Janela through the table for the win, 11 minutes, 6 seconds. And then next up we have a Darby Allin video, And then Tony Schiavone is in the ring to interview the challenger for the AEW Championship, Brian Cage, with Taz. And Taz says he has a major announcement, and he introduces something that he introduced in ECW back in the day, the original ECW, the FTW Championship. He didn't actually say what FTW stands for, but he presented the championship to Brian Cage. So now, apparently, Brian Cage, the new FTW champion, and I saw earlier it was reported that the way AEW can use the FTW championship is because it was never actually owned by ECW. Taz is the owner of the actual championship, is his property, and that is the reason he can use it, since ECW never actually owned it. And so that means WWE doesn't own it. So that is how AEW is allowed to use the FTW championship now in 2020. An 8-man tag action is next. It is the Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Brothers taking on FTR and the Young Bucks. Another awesome match here on Fyter Fest. A lot of great action here. I was impressed by all 8 guys, all 4 teams in this one. Butcher and the Blade impressed me. Lucha Brothers, of course, FTR, Young Bucks, some of the best tag teams in all of wrestling, in my opinion. Nick Jackson messes up a little bit, hits Harwood with a super kick. Pentagon Jr. gets the pin to score the win for his team at 16 minutes 31 seconds. And then we see where Big Swole is outside of Daly's place but is not allowed in because she is suspended for kidnapping Britt Baker. So she is denied entry. And Nyla Rose is in handicap action next, taking on Kylie King and Kenzie Page. She pretty much destroys both of them pretty quickly. And she says that after the match, she makes an announcement that says she has hired a manager, but she does not say who that manager is. We will have to wait and see who is going to be the new manager of Nyla Rose, the Native Beast. There's been some talk already about it maybe being Vicky Guerrero, but who knows? I think so. We'll just have to wait and see. Team action. The Dark Order, Mr. Brody, Stu Grayson, and Colt Cabana taking on SCU, or six-man tag team action, I should say. And before the match, actually, we see Colt Cabana in the trainer's room and say he is cleared to compete. But it is a pretty good match. And in the main event, we see Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. Another very entertaining match here. The main event, it was solid. Orange Cassidy doing the nothing kicks, and then he actually hits a super kick, which was pretty impressive on Chris Jericho. But Jericho kicks out at 2, and then Jericho ends up hitting the Judas Effect for the win. And that is night 2, the second week of Fyter Fest. And then we move on to next week, which will be Fight for the Fallen on a special episode of Dynamite, which hopefully, fingers crossed, will feature the AEW World Championship match. Jon Moxley taking on Brian Cage with Taz in his corner. Like I said, next week, hopefully the match will be able to take place, unlike the last couple weeks. Or unlike this week was supposed to be, I should say. But now, excuse me, let's move on to NXT Great American Bash, also night 2, which we see Candice LeRae defeat Mia Yim in a street fight. Bronson Reed defeat the premier athlete Tony Nese. And then Johnny Gargano defeated Isaiah Scott. Del Fantasma defeated Breezango and Drake Maverick in a 6-man tag team match. Mercedes Martinez defeated Santana Garrett. And then in the main event, Keith Lee defeated Adam Cole in a champion versus champion match. And to become not only retain the NXT North American Championship, but win the NXT Championship. Double champion now, Keith Lee. that's good to see. I'm a big fan of Keith Lee. Started watching him when he was in Evolve, and now, I mean, I think I talked about it last week on the podcast. Unfortunately, there is no more Evolve Wrestling, but Keith Lee had a very good run there. Now he's having a good run on NXT. That's very good to see. Now, just to get into a little bit of news, it was reported earlier that unfortunately Conan's mother passed away due to the coronavirus. And also, some more sad news, unfortunately. Linda McMahon's mother also passed away, 93 years old. And there's something here on Ringside News about the WWE hacker storyline, which unfortunately was dropped. And there was one time there was talk about it maybe being Mustafa Ali, and then he was moved over to Raw. But then now it is saying that he has quietly been moved back over to SmackDown once again. So who knows? I thought this actually could have worked. The whole hacker angle. WrestleMania, they did the thing during the match. Dolph Ziggler noticed with the whole Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville angle there. And I thought it could have been good though. So maybe they'll bring it back. Who knows? That could be good. And some ratings news. NXT for the second week in a row had more viewership than Dynamite. They did have better ratings, but in my opinion, Dynamite Night 2 of Fyter Fest was once again the better show, but that's just my opinion. And it says WWE is possibly planning on doing another Evolution pay-per-view. That, of course, was the women's only pay-per-view. So maybe we could see another one. And personally, I would like to see another one. I think that would be a good idea to bring back. And another thing I forgot to mention when I talked about Fyter Fest was the Puppy Battle Royale. That is on YouTube on AEW's channel, and I recommend if you didn't watch it last night, check that out. It's only 9 minutes. There's a women's battle royal first, or girl puppy battle royal, I should say. Puppy Penelope Ford gets the win, and then the boys battle royale, it's Puppy MJF that gets the win. But once again, I definitely recommend that you check that out if you didn't last night. Very entertaining. The puppies in it are very cute, and I'm sure you will definitely enjoy it. And that is all for this week of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, or not this week, or this episode, whatever you want to call it. But I have an announcement to make. Hopefully, 1 week from today, I'm planning on bringing back TBT, the Throwback Thursday show I've been talking about for a while. And I remember I did get a suggestion about doing George Animal Steel, and I might do him one day in the future, but next week, since a week from this Sunday is Slammiversary from Impact Wrestling, I was planning on doing a show on Slammiversary, talking about some of the past ones, maybe the first 5 I was thinking. So not promising anything, but I might try to do that next Thursday, TBT, the first episode of it back, Slammiversary, the first 5 Slammiversaries. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully it will happen. But also remember Instagram, 360 Wrestling Podcast, Facebook, also 360 Wrestling Podcast. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or anything, you can email 360wrestlingpodcast at gmail.com. Thanks for listening on Anchor or wherever you're listening to the podcast at Google Play, what's it called? I don't even know what I'm on. Spotify, some other things I don't even remember the names of, but just search for us, Google, whatever. You should be able to find everything. And thanks for listening. It's appreciated. But until the next episode, I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.